Everybody, just going to throw out a quick disclaimer. We had a recording issue on this podcast. We had a microphone that ended up failing on us, so it's going to sound a little different on one of our mics. Basically, Kenny's microphone did not pick up, and so he's a lot quieter whenever he talks. Tried to correct it with some audacity and everything. Did the best I could. But it is what it is. So that's why this one's a little bit late. Had to put a little extra work in on getting this one done. But I hope y'all enjoy the podcast, and we should have it all corrected next week. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy the show. We are Saints in the South, your source for gospel growth and good times. All right. Welcome, everyone. Episode 110. Episodes 110. Keep on climbing. Yep. Keep on climbing.
We're old.
That's That's right.
That's right. But it's Old Testament numbers.
Old Testament years. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So we could be third episode.
That's right. Hey, real quick. Kenny and Marcus and myself, we were sitting there talking as we were, getting ready to start this thing. And if y'all have never really dove into the Old Testament, like I haven't dove into the Old Testament.
Yeah, right.
Marcus and Kenny. Kenny's probably dove in a little more than we have.
I haven't dove in like this.
I tell you what, man, I think we're not even out of the first book yet, and we're in for quite the ride.
I thought the same thing. I literally had the same thought as I was studying. I went, I'm still in Genesis.
That's right.
I was like, oh my goodness. I feel like I've read the Book of Mormon 3 times.
That's right.
Over doing a whole book of Genesis. It's like there's so much stuff going on. I didn't realize
it's got 100 more times the plot twist.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard every Bible story so far, and we're still in Genesis.
That's right.
It's like, good grief.
All right. Yep. So today's title. So we're in Genesis chapters 28 to 33, and the title is "Surely the Lord is in this place." And so just kicking this off, Jacob. He is instructed by his father to go not back to his father's land, right, as Israel did, or Jacob did, but he's instructed to go to his mother's land, so he's sent off on the way, and on the way he ends up having a dream, and I think Kenny wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, something that was really cool that stood out to me, and I can't remember where. I found looked at different sources, but something that stuck out to me was that Jacob had the dream of the ladder of the angels, going back and forth, and so basically the ladder was the ladder to heaven. And in the Come Follow Me manual, it talks about the rungs of the ladder could be symbolic of ordinances and covenants and things, as we work our way toward heaven. However, there's also the only other place to my knowledge this is referenced is in First John in the New Testament in the end. And Jesus was talking to Nathanael. And then Nathanael said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. Jesus answered unto him and said, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? And then he said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. So it's the same language used there as far as the angels and angels ascending and descending, but Christ said upon the Son of Man, referring to himself. So he's basically saying that I am the ladder, I am the way to heaven, and making that literary back to Genesis, which is
very cool. One of those full circle moments there with the scripture. That's right.
One of the thoughts I had about the ladder was, it goes both ways, right? A ladder goes both ways. You can ascend or descend. And so one of the thoughts I had was that either way, for those that have actually climbed a ladder, you're going to go where your eyes are. In other words, if you want to descend, you're going to have to look that way and go down. It's a choice, right? To go up or down that ladder. And I was just sort of thinking about that. It's not a real profound thought or anything, but I was just thinking, like, ascending and descending. I think we find ourselves sometimes ascending that ladder, and then sometimes we might find ourselves descending that ladder. And we got to be careful that we're going in the right direction. But the good thing is we have the Lord to get us there. He is the way there. But it's up to us which way we go on that ladder, up or down.
That's right.
So.
Yep. So Jacob, he shows up in the land there, and he sees some guys, and he's making sure he's in the right place.
Yep.
And, do you know Laban? And they say, yeah, we know Laban, and so forth. That's right.
He's like, that's my cousin.
That's right.
No way. What was Laban to him? Actually,
it was
his uncle.
That's right.
Yeah, because
his mother's brother.
Yeah.
So he ends up meeting Rachel there before he meets the rest of the family. And I first thought that Jacob was he was a fast mover. He said, because and Jacob kissed Rachel. I'm like, dang, man, he wasted no time.
I think it was a greeting. I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. And like we've said, the Old Testament is hard. It's hard to read because it's such a foreign country. And some of the things they say, like, we get down in that chapter talking about Leah and Rachel and how Rachel's a looker and Leah has nice eyes.
That's right. Yeah,
it's like, we're trying to say something good here. I mean, that's what it feels like, I'm not saying that.
Leah's tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful.
Rachel was absolutely gorgeous, and Leah's got nice eyes.
Right,
got nice eyes. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's
got a good personality.
Exactly. It's like, wow, okay.
Well,
and then Laban pulls a fast one.
Oh my goodness,
Leah there.
Laban's. I don't know. Laban's a little bit. I don't know, a little shady.
Well, yeah,
there's something about that name. There's always something to do with that name.
I think it goes into the parenting.
Yeah.
Hold on. The reason, because hold on a second. If I'm thinking, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Isaac. Because Jacob's mother did all the deceiving, and her brother Laban is deceiving, right?
Right.
So their parents. I mean, come on.
I mean, there's something to do with their parents that taught them how to get what they wanted.
That's right.
I will give some. I wanted to say this last time was that she did actually have a vision. Like she did actually get. We didn't ever mention that in the last podcast. Talking about
we were having too much fun with
talking about what was her name? Rebecca. Talking about Rebecca. She did have a vision. That. Or it was given to her that it was supposed to be that. So we give her some slack. We'll give her some slack. Okay. She still had to do some deceiving, but she had that. It was enlightenment to do that. So. Yeah. But Laban, I don't know what to say for him. He was just.
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways here from this story is Jacob's willingness to serve. Right.
Wow.
I mean,
a
he
lot.
Said, all right, look, I'm going to serve 7 years.
A lot.
If I can marry your daughter.
And I was looking at that. It doesn't look like a negotiation. It's not even like they haggled back and forth. It's like, I'll work for you for 7 years.
I know, and I'm like, come on. It's like,
let's do it.
It's like, let's let Laban speak first. He might have said 2 years.
Right.
And it's like, no, Jacob's like, I'll do 7.
Yeah.
It's okay. He's like, wow, okay, yeah, easy.
And Laban's eyes were so like, what?
He must have really wanted Rachel, right? I mean, he really did. Something I did find out though in the Institute manual. So though Laban demanded another, so he finds out, right? Laban deceives him. So the whole, obviously we're hoping everybody has read the lesson and we're not your only source for getting this information, but not to have to go through every little detail, but obviously he wants to marry Rachel. Well, when the time comes, supposedly, or however that works, he sent Leah in, and Leah, they said there could be many reasons why, I can't remember who we're talking about. Jacob. I get all these names mixed up. Why Jacob got confused or maybe didn't recognize her. Could have had a veil. Could have been real dark in the tent. Whatever. We don't know. Like I say, it's hard to read the Old Testament. It's just got some crazy things in it. But
That's some good makeup back then.
Yeah, good makeup, whatever. And two, they probably do look somewhat similar. Let's just be honest, they're sisters, So anyway, so it's the whole mix up, right? He finds out it's Leah instead of Rachel. And of course, he confronts Laban like, "What's up, dude? Why'd you do this?" And Laban's pretty much just saying it's not natural to let the youngest daughter be married before the oldest.
Right.
And it's just like, you could have told me that back in the day, bro. Like, what's up? But here's the thing. So here's what I found out.
Out of it's 7 years.
Yeah.
There's 365 days in a year. There's 7 years. Not one moment.
It's like
time you said, "Hey, by the way,
I
really think that my oldest daughter should be married first."
Right.
But here's the thing. So we don't know the 7 years thing. We don't know if it started after they were married or before they got married. Because here's what it said in the Institute manual. You can look it up. It says, though Laban demanded another 7 years for Rachel. So Laban said, "Hey, you want Rachel? I need another 7." He allowed Jacob to marry her once the 7 days of the wedding feast for Leah were finished, and to fulfill his debt after the marriage. In other words, he married Rachel right away, right after Leah. As soon as the 7 days were over for the feast, but he demanded, "Okay, you owe me now basically either 14 years or 7 years more, or however long the first." It sounds like he would have let them marry the daughter and then stay there and serve for 7 years.
Versus
in other words, they didn't have to just hang around with the daughter there, I guess. And it kind of makes sense as I started thinking about it, because that would be a pretty good temptation for 7 years to be living around the person that I love, but I don't mess with her or anything. Right. You got to sit here and work. So when I read that, I thought, oh, okay, that's a little bit easier. Yeah. Because if I had to just work 7 years before I could do any, don't even, you can't have my daughter, you work for me for 7 years first. And I don't know. And so reading that, I was like, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
It takes away some of that hardness from the Old Testament. Maybe it's tough.
just a little bit.
Too many people, I feel like today, try to look at history through the lens of their modern day time.
Right.
There's no way
do that, because this time was so different. Like, the culture was so incredibly different. If we try to look at this through the lens of our own culture, it's not going to make any sense at all.
It just seems hard. It just seems like hard living when I read the Old Testament. Right. Living in a tent in the desert for years and years. I mean, what's going on? That's hard living. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how many flocks you have and stuff. That's some hard living right there.
So here's the here's the other thing is that Evan, I don't know why what you laughing at.
I feel like I know where you're going. Go ahead.
I was going to ask about why we have here, and it's, again, we're having a hard time remember the ladies' names, but the first wife that couldn't bear children to Abraham, Sarah.
Yeah,
Sarah had a hard time.
Sarah had a hard time.
Rebecca had a hard time.
And
now Rachel's having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like all these women, the handmaids ain't getting problems having children. But the wives.
I know, and so you kind of want to see, and you see the hand of the Lord here for whatever reason. There's something being taught here. There's something happening. Also, that's on the wife side. On the husband side, you see that it was the youngest that kept getting the birthright instead of the oldest, which was tradition.
Right.
So it's just some weird situation. I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of scholar out there that can grasp something greater from that, but that does seem very interesting to me on both sides of that it was just there's like a pattern almost, basically. Right. Yeah. 3 generations in a row at least. And so it's very interesting. But but like you say, the maids, the maid, what do they call them? A handmaid. You got Zilpah and Bilhah. And so these two, as we said before, we're talking about the Old Testament. This is a very weird thing, but basically the wife was given a maid, and it was just totally, it was just sort of I guess you'd say a normal thing. It's happened before. It did with Sarah and, Hagar was the same thing. That was Sarah's maid. And so basically they can have children with their maids. Obviously it's got to be done correctly through the Lord. They got to be married to them in some way, obviously marriage, and the Lord doesn't just allow fornication, obviously, is what I'm getting at. But those children that those maids have are the children of the husband and wife, not the maid and the husband.
Maid and the husband. Yeah. Right.
Which is just another tradition type thing, there it is. I mean, what do you say? There's some hard things, man. Some hard chapters.
That's how the culture was at the time.
It really is. It is what it was. Anyway,
well,
so we get the 12 tribes
That's
basically
right,
out of these
yeah,
out of
before we
all these women. And okay, so then Jacob's, that's 31's, you can mention this in a sentence probably. Basically the Lord tells Jacob to leave, like it's time to leave Laban. Basically Laban's been giving it to him for a while.
Right. Yeah.
He keeps changing the wages. He keeps
advantage.
taking advantage of them, just keeps taking advantage of them. And finally the Lord's like, hey, get out of here. Matter of fact, here's one thing I do like. In the Old Testament, it seemed that there was a lot of emphasis on how the male or the man runs everything and the wife is lesser, and you just put her to the side and the man does everything that needs to be done that's important or something or whatever. I think it's easy to get into that culture and think that that's what's happening. Yeah, very, very exactly. But in verse 4 of 31, it says, and Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field and to his flock. Jacob was having some issues with his flock. He was looking at his flocks. He was trying to figure out some situations, business things. And he asks his wives to go out and check it out and give their opinion on what they, and I thought, wow, that's a very cool thing that he's, it's not the man's here and the woman's here.
That's right.
In the Lord, when these, because Jacob was a man of the Lord. And so it may have been a patriarchal type society, obviously. When you read some of this stuff, you can see that stuff, but in reality, when it gets down to it, if you're following the true gospel of Jesus Christ, it never was. It never was this. It's always been this from Adam and Eve. And so it's just cool to see it reinstated, or not reinstated, but re-emphasized here.
Right. Back in the Old Testament.
Exactly. That's in the Old Testament. And so I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very good thing there. But that whole chapter in chapter 31 is basically, the Lord tells him, get out of Laban's house.
Get out of Dodge.
It's time to go back to your homeland and get away from Laban or whatever. And so they sneak away. And here's the cool thing. He goes to Leah and Rachel and is like, hey, we need to leave. And they were like, yeah, he's been stealing money from our inheritance and this and that. And they had problems with their dad, It's like, yeah, you're right. This is crazy. And so they all haul off, basically sneak away. And Laban doesn't know till like 3 days later. Right. I was like, where'd everybody go? And I'm, or whatever. Which was interesting to me. How did he not know? I mean, you're living in it. Where you heard? I mean, you didn't pack the minivan. You didn't pack the minivan and sneak out in the middle of the night.
And how many wives and children?
That's what I mean. It's like, and Laban's like, what's up, man?
A whole city left.
Yeah, I mean, basically like 12 kids. I mean, what's up? 12 kids, 4 wives. I mean, and Jacob's gone. But anyway, they do get away, and of course Laban pursues them. But the Lord told Laban, don't you touch Jacob. Don't mess with him. Don't say yes or no to him or nothing. Basically, you let him go. And Laban does. Yeah. Laban does, he's like, all right, it's done. So they do. They go away. They go their separate ways. Now we get to 32. This is almost like it's almost like story change to, okay, that part of Jacob's life we've got that established. Now we got to make up with his brother.
Right.
Which is
probably the coolest story.
This to me, is where it gets really interesting. It's a very cool thing, man. What y'all got?
So yeah, he one thing I thought was really, really cool is where he wrestles, like he sends everybody on, he leaves himself behind, and he sees this stranger. And it's really interesting to me how it doesn't clarify much. It's just like
Old Testament, man.
Guy.
I'm telling you.
And they just like start fighting.
Yeah. I mean, challenge each other to a duel or something.
Yeah. To a duel. I was thinking more of like a WWE entrance. In this corner, we have
the random stranger.
Yeah. The random stranger with angelic abilities.
All right, go ahead.
Anyway,
so he wrestles with him all night, and which it's funny. This is the first instance of professional wrestling that I'm aware of.
This would have been way back. Yeah, way back.
So Jacob wrestles with this stranger, with this angel, with whoever it is, and so a lot of people, that the scholars interpret this as some sort of messenger of God, some representative of God himself, be an angel or something to that effect. And something that was really interesting to me is something that when I was listening to Jordan Peterson talk about, like the story, how the name Israel, obviously it says this in our lesson too, it means he who wrestles with God, he who struggles with God.
That's something like that. Yeah.
And so he's all night, he's struggling with God, and the psychological significance of that being that living a moral life, living an ethical life isn't easy. It's a struggle. Like, so this is symbolic of Jacob's struggle to be a good man, to be a godly man, to live a moral, ethical life. And he's wrestling with God all night. So this depiction of God is like something to wrestle with, which is kind of interesting. You think about it from that kind of a psychological standpoint. It's not just a blind faith. It's not just I'm just going to follow with whatever's going on.
Right.
He's literally wrestling with God. He's he's actively taking a role in his life and what to do. And it reminded me of a quote from Brigham Young. I quote Brigham Young quite a bit too. This is from 1862. Brigham Young said, "I am more afraid that this people have so much confidence in their leaders that they will not inquire for themselves of God, whether they are led by him." Which is really interesting. So basically, Brigham Young is basically, to me, saying the same thing. He's like, we need to struggle with God. Like, it's not your job is not just to sit at home and just blindly do whatever. If your church leader say, I mean, you should. On the other hand, we definitely need to have faith, and we need to, sustain our leaders if we believe that they are called by the Lord. But he's also saying that this isn't a passive thing. The covenant path is not a passive life. It's an active life. It's like you have to wrestle with God. You have to actively participate in your own, working out your own salvation and trying to, strive to become more Christ-like. So I think there's a lot of symbolism in this story.
I like that.
On the surface, it's just kind of, what's happening here? So he's wrestling, and then he gets his hip thrown out of place, and what's going on? But there's a lot into this story.
See, I like that because that's something we had talked about before the camera started rolling or whatever, but was, you got to take this Old Testament and there's a lot of, I think I used the word excavate. You got to start excavating really a lot of material so that you can get to what the principle is, what the lesson is. It's easy to get caught up in some of this crazy stuff where you're going, why in the world would they do that? Or what are they talking about there? But in reality, look here, there's some great principles here that we need to glean from this and take and apply to our lives. And I like that, what you're saying. As a matter of fact, as you talked about that, it made me go back to the ladder. The ladder takes effort. To climb a ladder, it's usually going to be pretty vertical. It's going to be, when you're climbing a ladder, it's never flat, and I feel like sometimes, and that's a great point too. I think a lot of times, a lot of members feel like they should be on an escalator. If I'm in the church and there's a prophet of the Lord, then we're good. And that's it. I don't have to do anything. And in reality, it's a ladder. It's a ladder. And obviously, the prophet can't lead us astray. He won't lead us astray because the Lord won't allow it, but we need to work it out for ourselves and know that we're the ones that are grabbing the rungs and pulling ourselves up, or we're going to put the effort in. Think of, obviously the Lord loves effort, the Russell Nelson quote. And I love that. It takes effort. It takes work, and it takes working it out in your mind and wrestling. Wrestling's
leaders are not a substitute for that personal relationship.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
So we have to have that. We have to work. We have to maintain that
love that
personal relationship with the Lord.
Yep, right. There you go. Yep. There you go. That's really, and that's the beauty of the Old Testament. That what we're doing right here, that was it right there. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff, but man.
So earlier we were having some good times.
Yeah, right.
But now we're having some gospel growth, right?
See, that's saints in the South.
That's right. Baby.
That's saints in the South right there, baby. Wear that badge everywhere I go. But great stuff there. My thought when I was thinking about him wrestling, I'm thinking, so when you're anxious about something or some kind of decision or something that's coming up, and you got that feeling in your stomach, or you're just like, oh man, this is going to be, what do I do here, Lord? This is going to be big time, whatever. And I feel like him meeting his brother Esau in a specific way for him I think he was really nervous.
Right.
He was scared.
Right.
And there's some more of that weird stuff where you look and he puts his
he lines his family up like who's
least
willing to-
valuable.
That's right.
All right, now which kid? Let's see here. Which kid and wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so
If they kill y'all,
then the other half y'all just take.
y'all get out of here. At least half of us will be safe. Hey, whatever, you know. And that was the best he could do. But then he wrestled with the Lord because he was anxious and nervous and just didn't know what to do. And so he you know, I felt like that before, where you're like, oh man, you know, what do I, you know, this big decision, whatever it is, and you really wrestle with the Lord. So what's the let God prevail, right?
Mhm.
And that Russell Nelson said one of the name Israel can mean let God prevail.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the meanings of that great name. And I love that he wrestled with someone and he let that person prevail. I mean, now obviously I think it was Joseph Fielding Smith said that this probably wasn't an angelic being, because a mortal man can't hold an angelic being, like literally. Now that angelic being, if it was, he could have allowed it. He could have allowed him to feel like, oh, I'm holding on to you. You're not getting away. And eventually the angelic being's like, no, you know, okay, I get you. In other words, he had to let that angel prevail. He had to let that heavenly person prevail in his life. He had to let God prevail in his life. I just thought that was very interesting as I thought of that thing there. Jacob's letting this.
But something else too that's really significant about that whole event to me is that when he got his hip knocked out,
Yeah.
ripped or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah.
Like it says he walked off limping.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like
It's
he was messed up, and then as far as we know, for the rest of his life, he had a limp.
Probably so.
Which is another hugely symbolic thing to me. Is like when we wrestle with God, when we actively, you know, we work at trying to live ethical life, to trying to grow closer to Jesus Christ. You know, we're liable to get harmed in the process along the way. It's not an easy path. We're liable to have a limp. We're liable.
That's man. Hey, so what you're saying,
Kenny is bringing
dude,
it
you're
today,
bringing
so-
it, man. You're making my mind explode right now. Listen, so think about this. So when we choose the path, you know, the right path, the righteous path, I guess is what I'm getting at, the better path for us, et cetera, whatever, the thing that God knows is better for us, and we choose that, doesn't mean that it's going to be easier.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying? So yeah, he had a limp the rest of his life. He got hurt. He got, you know, whatever, but it was still better for him to go that way. It was still much more important for him to do that and to prosper and to all the things that the Lord needed him to do. And so, yeah, just because honestly, usually the more righteous path is usually the harder.
Right. The path of least resistance.
What's the Thomas S. Monson? May we ever choose the harder right over the easier wrong, or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's very, man, you got, Kenny's firing off, boys.
Like Jackson was saying, though, that's where, you know, the phrase, you know, the path of least resistance comes from, because the easiest path is often not the best
path.
Very seldom, you know.
Right.
More often than not, the more difficult path is what's gonna be best for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool,
good.
man. A lot of, man, that chapter 32 that's awesome.
So
a lot of stuff there, man.
So Esau ends up, they end up meeting, right? And and again, Jacob is prepared for the worst. That's right.
Yeah.
And
and I could totally see a movie here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could, as I was doing, I was like, oh, that's big.
Yeah.
I could see them coming, Braveheart type scenes, you know.
That's right.
Coming over the hill or something. And
just imagine Jacob probably every day has been struggling. Like he's been
worrying about this for
it's my every day for the last 20 years.
Yeah, man,
that's right.
Look, the last time they met, Esau was going to kill him.
Right, and he knows that Esau is very capable of it, because remember, he's a big hunter, you know, hairy dude, and Jacob is a mama's boy, smooth, you know.
Yeah.
Hung out with his mama all
silky hair. Yeah.
Yeah, making dinners.
That's right. How do you feel though, knowing in Genesis 32:6, because if you go back and just read verse 6 in the chapter before, and the messengers returned, because Jacob sent out some messengers to his brother, right?
That's right.
And the messengers returned to Jacob saying, "We came to thy brother Esau, and he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him."
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to get some wrestling
That's
going on with the Lord. Like, oh my goodness. Like, and here's the thing though, Jacob could have easily said, you know what? Forget it then. I'm not going to meet him. Not in that circumstance.
Right.
He could have read that totally wrong. And may actually, you know what? Okay, so there's similarities between Jacob and his father now, Isaac. Isaac submitted to harm or to danger to himself, right? When Abraham went to sacrifice, he submitted to that, as the Savior submitted to those things. Now here's Jacob, in essence, submitting to danger and to harm possibly to himself and his family, but he's submitting himself to it.
Man, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Right.
Boom.
But-
Look here, Old Testament, best book of the scriptures. It's
the story of Isaac. Isaac, as far as he knew, was fixing to kill.
that's right.
And it never says he put up.
He went along with it.
Hey, I trust my father. I trust God. And here's Jacob saying, "Okay, Esau's been saying this my whole life. He's going to kill me, and here he comes with 400 guys. They're, you know, how could you turn that?
I'm telling you.
I'm sure in Jacob's mind, he had to be questioning God a little bit. Like, all right,
I would think
you told me you're going to be with me, but Esau's sworn he's going to kill me.
Yeah,
he's got 400 guys with him, right?
Yeah,
I've got my wives and my children and some oxen. You know,
yeah, some oxen.
This isn't going to go.
This is not going to go well. This is he knows he don't really have a chance against his brother,
right,
bringing 400 men. But like I say, he still shows up, and he does prepare. I mean, you know, he's going with the aid of the Lord. Jacob's obviously very close to the Lord. You know, he's letting God prevail in his life, and so he does do his best to prepare. Though we talked about him dividing his family.
That's
I mean,
right,
that sounds so crazy, but at least half
But
of them will
was preparing.
survive.
That's right. He was preparing.
I mean, he's doing what he can, you know, and so very interesting. But obviously, also Genesis 33 has a lot of the great undertones of the prodigal son type thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, fell and kissed his neck, which was like, you got to remember. So Jacob rules over his brother Esau.
That's right.
But in this instance, it really sounds like Jacob is like saying, you know, I'm putting that to the side. That's not a thing that's on my mind right now. I'm not trying to act like I'm a ruler over you. I don't want it to feel that way, you know, and he doesn't want it to feel that way. And he's really trying to, I mean, he's giving him all kinds of stuff, man.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. He kept saying,
yeah.
My Lord.
It's like
yeah.
Yeah.
Has all the, giving him all of his flocks, and then Esau tried to turn it down. It's like, you don't have to give me nothing. No, seriously.
Right.
Allow me to
please. I want to do this. And Esau does accept it, which was a big deal to Jacob for him to accept that. But also this gives undertones to, or you know, thinking about Abraham. Remember how Abraham and Lot?
Right.
You know, Abraham said, no, I don't care. You pick what you want, even though I can pick what I want. You take what you want, because I don't want any kind of, and here's Jacob in essence going, I don't want anything, any rifts between us. You know, you take whatever you want. You know, I'm in your debt, you know, or not in your debt, but I'm in your service. I'll serve you and help you.
Service
and,
is the,
you know, let's stand shoulder to shoulder basically, and not do all this.
Yeah.
But very, very cool stuff, man. There's a lot of forgiveness and things.
That's right. And I guess in studying, reading through the Come Follow Me manual, it points out that obviously in today's times, you know, we can have family rifts and strifes and things like that.
Yeah.
And if there are any relationships in our lives where we could have that opportunity to follow the example of Jacob and Esau, then let's do that.
You know, Jacob had to go Esau. Guess what? After they do their little reconciliation,
right?
He goes, Esau, man, I know how you felt, man. Let me tell you about my father-in-law. This is what he did to me.
That's right. Exactly.
Totally got hoodooed, man.
Yeah.
No, you know.
And Esau says, what happened, man? What why are you limping? He's, man, I had this rest on Esau. I'd have taken him all day long, man.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah. Esau's like, what? Really, dude? Come on, man. No. Hey, and also we find out too that Jacob's eyes must be been just about as bad as his father Isaac's eyes, because he couldn't tell Leah from That's right. We just finding all kinds
Very
of
good, very
little
good.
nuggets in this thing. Nah, but hey, look, like I say, I can, and I said this before, and I said I wasn't gonna say it, but I am. I'm gonna say it. Basically, I can sympathize with people that sort of come at Christian religion in a superficial way. I'll say a superficial way, because if you truly come at it with your heart, and you really have an intent to want to know Jesus Christ and feel the Spirit and things, I feel like the Lord obviously is going to help you through that. But if you're just coming at it in sort of an academic, sort of superficial, worldly way, and you say, well, I'm just going to read this Bible and open up to Genesis and start reading some of this stuff, I can see how people are turned away and go, that ain't the kind of stuff I want to live. And so you have to take the Old Testament into context and understand that this was a foreign land. This was a different time. I can just see that. I guess I'm just saying that I can sort of sympathize with some of those people that come at it in such a superficial, sort of just kind of straight in way, without really having a great desire to really do it, but just kind of looking at it. And I can see how people would be turned away by some of the stuff that's in here. You know,
if you're looking to pick it apart,
exactly,
and come away with a negative light, then you can do that.
You got to exactly. That's what I mean.
Even if you're not religious, there are people that are not religious.
Yeah.
That respect the
absolutely. Yeah.
Understand these stories are ancient.
I think
these are meta truths. These aren't just basic stories about a person. These are stories that, there's thousands and thousands of years of oral tradition. People like that have kind of been condensed and boiled down.
It's true.
Stories. And so there's a lot of truth there.
They
seem weird on the surface, but there are people that take a more critical.
I think
and understand that there's deeper meanings to these stories.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to you get what you find what you're looking for.
That's right.
That's what it is. I mean, if you're really going into it with an open mind and trying to learn, I think you will. Obviously, it's a book. It's the Word of God, Right. So, but now if you're going into it trying to find a way out, a reason not to, I don't want to have to deal with that. So let me see. And okay, well, that's a good enough reason to get away from that. So yeah, you find what you're looking for. So,
well, very good. Well, I think that's a good place to shut it down.
Sure.
And until next time, y'all keep on striving.